I did not. Well, Psalm 108. Let's see here. I couldn't tell you how many verses are in it. No, I'll go find mine while somebody else reads it. I just want to know how many there are in there. I don't have it. Huh? 13. Oh, that's enough for one person to do it. So do I have a volunteer? Any volunteers at all to do it? Evelyn, would you? Okay. Yeah. So people watching can see it.
O God, my heart is fixed. I will sing and give praise, even with my glory. Awake, psaltery and harp. I myself will awake early. I will praise thee, O Lord, among the people, and I will sing praises unto thee among the nations. For thy mercy is great above the heavens, and thy truth reaches unto the clouds. Be thou exalted, O God, above the heavens, and thy glory above all the earth, that thy beloved may be delivered. Save with thy right hand, and answer me. God hath spoken in his holiness. I will rejoice. I will divide Shechem, and mete out the valley of Succoth. Gilead is mine, Manasseh is mine, Ephraim also is the strength of mine head. Judah is my lawgiver. Moab is my washpot. Over Edom will I cast out my shoe. Over Philistia will I triumph. Who will bring me into the strong city? Who will lead me into Edom? Wilt not thou, O God, who hast cast us off? And wilt not thou, O God, go forth with our hosts? Give us help from trouble, for vain is the help of man. Through God we shall do valiantly, for he it is that shall tread down our enemies.
Very good. Thank you. And thank you for reading it in English for the benefit of the rest of us. All right. So who is the author of this psalm? David is. Now, as we'll see later, there are parts of this psalm that seem very much like Davidic psalms. So some people have said, well, it's not David himself, but it's Davidic. But it says David, and so I'm going to go with David. What's the occasion of the writing of this psalm? Right, Mason, you're right. We don't know. He just kind of goes like this, and we don't know. We don't know what the occasion is. We don't know what was going on in his life or what was happening, but there it is. What are the key words here in this psalm as we read through it? As you're reading through it, what are some of the words that stand out, either because they're repeated, because they're unique, or ones that just kind of get the general tenor of this psalm? Marlene? Well, verse 6 says, beloved, so it could be.
I'm studying from a different Bible right now, but there is one statement that really comes to me. Great is your love, higher than the heavens. Your faithfulness reaches to the stars.
Oh, verse 4. Okay. Yeah. All right. Seth?
I think praise would be the general tenor.
Yeah. Yeah. Praise shows up 3 times. That's the word that shows up the most in this psalm. Good. Yeah. Russ?
2 words for me anyway are vain and
Vain,
valiant.
and what was the second one?
Valiantly.
Valiantly. Yeah, I noticed valiantly too. That's a pretty rare word. Only 4 times in all of Psalms. Yeah. Yeah. Yep. Terry?
Is this a victory thing that rejoicing over all these?
Yeah. Well, so Shechem, Sukkot, Gilead, Manasseh, Ephraim, Judah, in verses 7 and 8, those are all within Israel. And then verses 9 and 10 are all about the surrounding areas. So it's kind of God's sovereignty inside of Israel and outside of Israel. Gilead would be, what do they call it now? It's in the news all the time. When Trump was in, it was the Golan Heights. Yeah, Gilead that's where that is. So it's on the east side of Jordan, that area. That's Gilead. And I'm not sure where the Valley of Sukkot is, verse number 7. But those are all within Israel. And then Moab, Edom, Philistia obviously are outside of those will be the warring nations around Israel. And David himself would have fought with all of those nations. Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, and so the theme you're kind of saying, the key words are triumph or save or victory or something like that. Yeah, right. Yeah. Good. Okay, well, let's read it again, and then we'll look for a theme. What would be a good summary statement? Do I have a volunteer to read that? Read it once again. Oh, man, when there's so many hands, I just don't know which one to pick. Dan, would you? It's not yours first. Seth's yours was higher. But...
Okay. Psalm 108. O God, my heart is fixed. I will sing and give praise, even with my glory. Awake, psaltery and harp. I myself will awake early. I will praise thee, O Lord, among the people, and I will sing praises unto thee among the nations. For thy mercy is great above the heavens, and thy truth reacheth unto the clouds. Be thou exalted, O God, above the heavens, and thy glory above all the earth, that thy beloved may be delivered. Save with thy right hand, and answer me. God hath spoken in his holiness. I will rejoice. I will divide Shechem and mete out the valley of Succoth. Gilead is mine. Manasseh is mine. Ephraim also is the strength of mine head. Judah is my lawgiver. Moab is my washpot. Over Edom will I cast out my shoe. Over Philistia will I triumph. Who will bring me into the strong city? Who will lead me into Edom? Wilt not thou, O God, who has cast us off? And wilt not thou, O God, go forth with our hosts? Give us help from trouble, for vain is the help of man. Through God we shall do valiantly, for he it is that shall tread down our enemies.
Good job. Thank you. All right. Well, what's a good theme of this? If you were going to summarize this psalm in one phrase, what would it be? Victory in Jesus. Yeah, yeah. Yeah. Victory through God's mercy. Good. Yeah. That used to be my alarm, so I feel like I'm in a dream, and I'm supposed to be waking up. I'm going to wake up and be like, this Wednesday night church never happened. I dreamt the whole thing. I put down praise for God for his victory over enemies, which sounds like a lot of other psalms, but when you only have 13 verses and it all sounds a little bit, like other psalms, it's not easy. Evelyn? Yeah.
And so I keep turning to say that God easily defeats all of these people. God's triumph, not over just enemies, but what seem like insurmountable enemies. These are people that actually he mentions God just like shaking his shoes out of his people.
Yeah. Yeah, Israel's big enemies that they had perennial problems with, and it was always a trouble, and it was always a struggle for how they were going to win. God says, these are nothing. I think what is in Isaiah, there's a passage where he says, if you put all the nations of the world on the scale, they're less than nothing. That's the way God looks at them. So we look at Putin, and Putin thinks he's pretty hot stuff, and he's doing all this stuff, and who's going to stop him? And the Lord just kind of yawns and looks at him, He's nothing. He's nobody. So, that's a good theme. Thinking about God's sovereignty even over powerful enemies. Yeah. Marlene?
Can I read to you what the Bible says in this is that this Bible
Is it like a study Bible or something? Or?
Yes.
Okay.
The theme is righteousness, indignation against liars and slanderers. We can tell God our true feelings and desires.
Okay. Yeah. Anybody else? All right. What's the tone of this psalm? Somebody mentioned it already, kind of what they thought, but what's the tone of this psalm? Exalting. Yeah. It is kind of a exalted, like God is good. Kind of an eyes upward psalm. I put triumphant, so along the same lines. What do you think, what do you learn about God in this psalm? What's something, maybe not uniquely, but at least what's one of the characteristics of God that we learn while we're in this psalm? This is another one of those new questions. There wasn't like a funeral earlier today that I missed or anything, was there? I just feel like maybe. There's, you know what? Russ?
God will deliver us from our adversaries.
Yes. Okay. God delivers us from our adversaries. Yeah. Alice? Yeah. God's worthy to be praised. Yeah.
He
Evelyn?
shows us his power.
Yes. Evelyn? Yeah. Yeah, when we think of God on our side and then we think of ourselves in trouble, we often think that God is in the trouble with us, and he does meet us in that, but he's not in trouble. Yeah. Our troubles are not as big a deal to him as they are to us. Terry? Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, there's something just expansive about all the good characteristics of God. Yeah, good, good. Well, so then how might this psalm be helpful in your life? What's the situation where you're going to have to dust off good old Psalm 108? Seth?
I think there's probably frequently times in our lives where we tend to coast on our own. We tend to try to do whatever our thing is.
Yeah.
On our own. And for a lot of people, I think that's sustainable, but only for so long.
Yeah.
So eventually you'll start to grind, as it were, and start to burn out and start to flame out. And I think a psalm like this can serve as a reminder of the lack of necessity for that,
Mm-hmm.
and the faithfulness of a God who has a guaranteed victory for you waiting. Even that victory isn't necessarily what you think it might be, but I think that's, for someone like me at least, that's where a psalm like this is particularly helpful in terms of understanding that the battle's not yours to fight, that one who's greater than you is just waiting for you to just sit there and hand him the baton.
Yeah.
And let him run the race.
Yeah. I often wonder if America was the kind of country, we didn't have oceans on both sides, and Canada to the north and Mexico to the south, it's pretty soft. It's like we don't have the looming invading force, as much as we talk about borders and things. I'm saying it's not like Estonia where Russia is right there, I just wonder how we would think about how much we would identify with these Psalms much more. But for us, it doesn't have to be an invading force. It can be a bad report from your doctor. It can be a bill that you just are not ready to pay. It can be real bad news from family. It can be something else. So whereas we have relative peace here in America, we can thank God for that, and we should. We also just, not that we're without trouble. But whatever the spectrum is, whether it's a small thing or a big thing, yeah, I think to see that when we're in trouble, we can look at the way that God is looking at these big problems as very small to him. Yeah, good, good. Terry?
Problems that you end up having are something that you turn to man, like verse 12 says.
Yeah. 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 Yeah, you realize your dependence more and more. Right. Yeah. Yeah. Good. Good. Anybody else? Russ. Yeah. Yeah. Good. Russ?
By the grace of God, it doesn't happen that anymore. It used to, but when we seem defeated, no, God is with you.
Yeah. Good. When you seem defeated, know that God's with you. Yeah. Good. 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 Well, let's read it one more time, and we'll look for an outline and then a good verse we might want to memorize. Do I have another volunteer? There we go, Seth. All right.
A song or psalm of David. O God, my heart is fixed. I will sing and give praise, even with my glory. Awake, psaltery and harp. I myself will awake early. I will praise thee, O Lord, among the people, and I will sing praises unto thee among the nations. For thy mercy is great above the heavens, and thy truth reacheth into the clouds. Be thou exalted, O God, above the heavens, and thy glory above all the earth. That thy beloved may be delivered, save with thy right hand and answer me. God hath spoken in his holiness. I will rejoice. I will divide Shechem and mete out the valley of Succoth. Gilead is mine, Manasseh is mine. Ephraim also is the strength of mine head. Judah is my lawgiver. Moab is my washpot. Over Edom will I cast out my shoe. Over Philistia will I triumph. Who will bring me into the strong city? Who will lead me into Edom? Wilt not thou, O God, who hast cast us off? And wilt not thou, O God, go forth with our hosts? Give us help from trouble, for vain is the help of man. Through God we shall do valiantly, for he it is that shall tread down our enemies.
Amen. All right. Well, what is a good maybe outline of this psalm if you're going to break it into little pieces that we're all kind of grouped together? Russ. Russ wasn't at the funeral today. No, I'm just kidding. I'm teasing you. I'm teasing you. It's fine.
Yes, I was. 1 through 3. Fix your heart on God and give him praise. 4, 5. Exalt God for his mercy is great. 6 through 8. God delivers his beloved. 9 through 10. God triumphs over our enemies. And 11 through 13. God leads us.
Good. Good. If you're listening online, I can't repeat all that. It was good though. Just take my word for it. It was good. Anybody else? I had 1 through 5, God is exalted above the heavens and the nations. 6 through 9, God is victorious over Israel's enemies. And 10 through 13, God will go into battle with his people. I mentioned earlier that some people aren't sure that David wrote this. The reason is that the verses 1 through 5 are an almost exact copy of Psalm 57, 7 through 11. And verses 6 through 13 are an almost exact copy of Psalm 60, 5 through 12. Now, David wrote both Psalm 57 and Psalm 60. And so some people think that somebody later on, maybe they said in the Babylonian captivity, took those Psalms and kind of ripped out this part and ripped out this part and squished them together. And that's where it became a Psalm of David, but it wasn't really him. We don't know. We don't know exactly. Obviously, if David wrote it, if God used David to write it, then there's probably going to be some similarities, even in the way that he writes, just like you can tell Mark's writing from John's. It's very different. They use different terminology. And so God used the human authors, but, nothing's saying that David couldn't have just written something very similar. It could be, though, that he took these two parts of his songs, and, in this case, the people were wondering, in Psalm 57, people were wondering about God's triumph, and in another place, he was, in Psalm 60, they were wondering about his triumph, and he brought these things together, just taking parts of it and writing this. Again, I don't know, but we believe that the Holy Spirit of God inspired him write this one with the same themes as other ones. So then you kind of see if you notice a break there at verse 5 when you read it, right? If there's a break in thought between verse 5 and verse 6. It seems like they're put together pretty well. There's a nice little part of speech, I don't remember, that kind of puts it together. So I also put our confidences and doubts in a God who delivers, because it seems like there's some doubts in the middle. In verses 1 through 6, our confidence. In verses 7 through 9, God's ability. In verses 10 through 12, I hear some doubts. Won't you? God, won't you do this? And then in verse number 13, confidence is restored, our confidence again. So, anybody else? All right, well, what's a good verse to memorize on the day that you're feeling like your enemies are big and you are small, and you need this psalm, or you're going to forget this psalm, but remember one little part of it? What's a good verse to memorize? Seth?
Verse 5, be thou exalted, O God, above the heavens, and thy glory above all the earth. And I'm pretty sure that's a praise and worship song, isn't it?
Yeah.
Be thou exalted, O God. Right? Yeah?
I don't know that one, but I know some other ones that are similar.
Above the heavens. No? A little too Nazarene wash here.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, if John Wesley wrote it, or if Charles Wesley wrote it.
Yeah, Charles Wesley, thank you very much.
Well, John wrote some.
Yeah, well. Yeah, I like that one particularly, just
Yeah,
the idea of who God exactly is.
yeah, good. Evelyn? Verse 13, yeah. Through God we shall do valiantly, for he it is that shall tread down our enemies. Yeah. Now, if you put that on a bumper sticker on your car, people might like, oh, I'm just going to maybe stay back a little bit. I'm not going to tailgate this girl. Yeah, right. Yeah, good. Anybody else? Yeah. I had 5, and then when we were reading through it, just the way that Dan read it, I'm like, verse 12 is actually pretty good too, so I wrote down verse 12. But yeah, verse 12 is really, really good. Give us help from trouble, for vain is the help of man. Yeah, good. All right, well, good to study this. Next Wednesday, as far as I know, we have Psalm 109, a little longer, and then we have our quarterly business meeting after that. So Psalm 109 next week. I didn't grab a prayer sheet. Usually it's right up here, and it wasn't, so I didn't think to grab one. I'll go grab one.